Hey, we're back again today with our next episode, and today we've kind of got a little bit of a controversial topic. Not trying to start arguments, but we just wanted to kind of discuss the topic of AI, how it's inevitable, and how it affects what we do. It is something that has its both positives and negatives.
Yes, and again, the world we live in, things are going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with it, like taking jobs from people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, in our case, I feel like it helps creative sides of people come out when you have a vision that you can't get on a piece of paper, especially for people like me too, because I don't draw like Jessica does. I'll think of something, but to get it out on a piece of paper, when y'all see the episode of her trying to teach me how to draw, y'all will completely understand why that is.
Patience. So, but I'm kind of the same way. I'm not a portrait artist. I'm not a landscape artist. I've done some of that stuff. It doesn't spark my creativity. I do fantasy art. Now I do some of the animals and things like that I've done, but everything that I do, there's no reference picture for.
Right.
And even though I can see it in my mind, those details and getting it right, it's so hard. It's one of those things that, how do you take what's inside of your head, get it in front of your eyes so you can look at it, and then try to draw it out how you intend for it to look.
With no references.
With no references.
None at all. Not even taking pieces of stuff.
Right.
A lot of our stuff is coming from our books. Some of the stuff comes from your games that you draw for your art props.
And with the games, thank goodness, I can take screenshots.
Right.
I've done pictures of my actual character, like in Final Fantasy 14. Mm-hmm. I did my character. I took G-pose is fun. You just become a photographer for hours on end. But it's, I took those and used them as reference photos to actually draw my character. But with a lot of the stuff that I do it doesn't exist in the real world. There's no picture of it. So when we started the art club, and we started giving the art prompts, I started out, it kind of, to begin with, we started it weekly. That was too much because we were drawing quick stuff,
Yes.
and I would do things just out of my head that were kind of cartoony, Mm-hmm. Wasn't really helping get my actual, I guess, talent along. And as we decided, hey, we kind of want to push the limit here to actually create good pieces of art, not just like the Inktober where, you draw every single day for a month. That's hard to do. Oh. That's something you got to purposely set time aside for that. Now, I think it's awesome. Kudos to those who actually can do that. But I feel like a lot of artists are also like me. There's some days I just ain't got it in me. There's some days it's just not there. I don't want to sit down and draw. So we decided to do the monthly things because we wanted to create better quality art to actually push our limits and get better at what we do. So doing that, I was still trying to do stuff out of my head like I've always done. But I had these grandiose ideas that I was like, if there was just a reference picture, like something real, but it's still my idea, mm-hmm. I could go next level with what I do. Because if I have something to look at, then it never turns out exactly what you're looking at. It's always different, but you need that reference for the true kind of realism aspect. So one of my other friends said, I use, I forget what it's called now. It was one of the early, little cheap, you got 10 pictures you could do a day AI. She was like, I will have something in my head. I'll go type out the paragraph to explain what I want, and it'll create things that are close enough to what I'm looking for that I can use it as a reference and do a better job when I actually draw my picture. So I was like, dang, that's
Perfect.
That's not a bad idea.
Perfect.
Because even though it's AI generated as the actual reference photo, it was still her idea that she like created and kept tweaking it until it was like what she saw in her head.
Right.
So I started messing with it. And I actually use the Bing image creator or whatever. It's not perfect every time. I've used ChatGPT a few times. Sometimes I fight with it and I literally will argue with it. But I use it to create reference photos of fantasy worlds that don't exist, that live in my head. I do not use like stuff that other people have created. Now I know AI pulls from everywhere.
Right.
But it creates enough of the composition of what I want to do that I can take that and then in turn create a physical, real art piece that is an original idea with so much more detail. So that's kind of how I use it. Now, I am 100% on the same side of the fence with the artists who AI has been so misused that people try to pass off things as, like their creation. And I'm not, even though I typed in all of that information and got it to create this image, I didn't create that.
Right.
Like now I created the idea and got it to generate something based off of that description, but that's not my art piece.
Right.
That is just a tool for me to use to get my fantasy worlds that live up here to where I can kind of visualize it better to create my art pieces. So that's something that I feel like has taken my art to the next level, because so many things that I have wanted to do for so long but couldn't quite get the visual because just trying to do it out of my head, you can't, your brain, when you're not looking at it with your eyeballs, can't make up the compositions of depth and dimension and all of that stuff and get it correct. And as something I've struggled with too. I even talked about that in my Draw With Me, the first episode with the fox. Like I actually had to erase and redo because I did the sketch out. And when I did that, his like body, the front part, was so much bigger than the back part. I was like, yeah, his booty too small.
I was about to say, no booty in the trunk.
No booty in the trunk. So I had to erase and redo. So that kind of perspective thing has always been a struggle.
Well, you introduced me to ChatGPT and I be having fun with it.
It's pretty fun to mess with.
So, I mean, there is pros and cons to.
There's definitely
of
a
them.
dark side to it as well. So we're not taking away from
No.
that. I'm not agreeing with the fact that AI should be used and passed off as art.
No.
I'm not okay with that.
Basically, what we're trying to say is that we want y'all to know that we do use it as a tool to help
boost
us.
ideas and then create
Yes.
our stuff from that.
So that way, again, this is a judgmental free area, but we want to be honest and real and true about what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't want ChatGPT or AI to take away from the creations that we do have, but it helps us improve those, gives us a view of it to get it out, to get it on a paper, to get it onto into a 3D print. Like,
Gives you a jump start
Yes.
on creating the 3D models from my drawings.
yes. So I have took and used ChatGPT to tell it what kind of 3D print I want. And once it creates me like a picture or whatever, I'll take that and I'll use it to generate a 3D file. But then I throw it into Nomad and I modify it and smooth it and
You
change
take the base and then actually
Yes.
sculpt it from there.
So, taking what it gives us to enhance and create what we have in our head, we use that tool. And we don't want to, there's so much negative that this is one of the positive things that it can do. It can help. It's not taking place of us and our ideas, but it is helping us, become more, do more, see more. I mean, there was one time I put it in there trying to work on a 3D print and I typed out everything I wanted, and the three, it gives you like 3 or 4 sometimes different ones. There was one I was like, well, crap. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I didn't see it in that light.
Yeah.
So, but then from seeing it like that, I was like, oh, all of the things that you can do once you realize it, because if you're sitting there by yourself, you don't have all the opinions or ideas from other people.
It's almost like having your own like council of people to help contribute ideas in your living room.
Yes.
And that's something like, I talked about in one of the past podcasts about the Mage's Mirage painting that I did that was the purple wizard tower in the desert that come from the desolate desert. I used this technique. I spent hours like trying to figure. I always start with like, in general, I'll go like type in desolate desert just in Google search. And of course it comes up with all this stuff, like just trying to get an idea of like, what do I want to do? What's going to spark that inspiration?
Google sometimes will overwhelm you.
Oh, well, and the thing is, it was not hitting on anything. So what I did was I was like, okay, how can I take this and make it not so like depressing, not something I don't want to paint?
Right.
So I went to the Bing Image Creator and I just typed in, I was like, okay, how do I throw my fantasy vibe on this? All right, desert. Okay, we got a desert. Let's do, maybe there's a forgotten, like, elegant sword that's kind of half buried in the sand. And so, like, I typed all that in there and it did that and it was doing the weird stuff. I was like, this is not what I want. This is not what I visualized. This is not right. So I kept playing with it. And I kept telling it, at some point, I told it to, like, have, like, a purple magic effect or something. It went from like just basic desert with like a sword that it kept just moving around in places and stuff like that, to turn the sky, a night sky with the purple like clouds and stuff through it, the haze, yes. And I was like, oh. And it was like immediately, even though it created it from what I was telling it, that immediately sparked, that is what I want to see. And I was like, okay, this is going my direction now. Now this looks like something that I would create. So, all right, what can I do with that? Mage Tower. So I typed that in and it kept putting like these cool different looking mage towers and stuff. I was like, okay, maybe I need some like hazy plateaus in the background that's kind of, like, so I told it all that kind of stuff. And then when I've kept just tweaking it, and then when I started putting in there, like, I want this to be like a purple magical tower and stuff, is when it started giving it that whimsy and like that stained glass purple and like where the magic was bursting out in places. And I was like, okay. And I knew once I saw that, like the sand dunes and stuff, that I didn't need the AI to do it, but I was going to paint me a little wizard way off in the distance looking towards that tower like he'd come a long journey. Is it a mirage or is it real? That's where the whole idea come from. And from there, I took that as a reference photo. Now, if you look at the reference photo that I used after creating it through the AI generator, it is very, very similar. But when I actually painted it, once I had just a reference, I then let my own whimsy take over.
Yeah.
So actually through the painting process, once I got the general shape and everything in, I stopped looking at the reference picture and started doing my own thing. And that's when I created the painting that I did. And I could not have done that without that thing, like, and it
with
learns
a spark.
Well, and it learns your style too.
Yes.
And since then, the more I have used it, it knows, I guess, what I'm looking for, and I can get my kind of stuff, I guess, out of it a lot faster. And it has helped me create some of my favorite art pieces. And as an artist, to me, this is a way to flip the coin. There's so many artists that are suffering from, because AI is taking over and it's easier for people to just use that than to pay an artist. Why not use it to our advantage? Instead of allowing it to replace you, use it to where, yes,
it enhances you.
Yes, and it can do some cool stuff, but I'm not gonna lie. The actual like reference photo versus my painting, hands down, I like the painting better, which I'm probably biased, but you can tell that that's AI generated. My painting has that traditional, real, original painted fantasy vibe. Mm-hmm. And so rather than allowing that as a replacement, it looks so much better, but I use it as a tool instead of that. I think it's something that artists can use to get past that AI replacement thing. You can use it if you're like me and you have trouble visualizing such a very fantastical world that lives up here. You can use it for that and create amazing things. And I think you're using it for the same thing with the 3D print files.
Well, it's definitely helped me trying to take some of the things that are in my head and get it out.
Yeah.
Because again, like for people like me that I don't draw and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we're gonna test that theory and stuff.
We'll see how you do.
But I don't draw and stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get what's in my head on a piece of paper if you don't draw?
Right.
I mean, you know, most days I can't even read my handwriting. So
It's not that bad.
It can be bad. You remember you were trying to read those notes one time? That was in my notebook at work.
What is this?
You were like, nah.
Hey, I can't say nothing. There's days, you have those days that
See?
your handwriting is just like, yeah, I can't write anything wrong. And then there's days like, what are you?
Where were you going with that?
Well, like my handwriting some days will get worse and worse and worse. And the sad thing is, you'd be like, you're an artist? Like, artist, not calligraphist. There's a difference. So, yeah.
But all that being said, basically what we're trying to say is that we do use AI and ChatGPT to
Yeah.
help us create the picture that we are seeing in our heads.
But as a toolbox,
As a tool.
yeah, a tool in the toolbox.
Yes.
And I think, to me, it just helps you further get your ideas out faster.
Yes.
Way less, erase, redo, that's not right,
Just like with the 3D, if I put it in there and tell it was what kind of 3D that I'm trying to make, whatever, that still doesn't make the 3D print because I
You
still
have to still create it.
I still have to decide how much infill, how many wall loops, how big do I want it, how many millimeters do you want this? Because it may give me this little bitty tiny thing, but then I have to scale it, and all of the settings for that print has to be done differently. And like the one I used when I we were trying to get Onyx. Remember, it left off the back legs.
Yeah.
And
You have
I
to figure out.
had to figure out how to fix that. So
Yeah.
it enhances what we have available in our heads and, brings it out on a piece of paper to look at, to
Yeah.
see it. But it's not doing it for us.
No, you still have to, it takes hours of tweaking that stupid thing to even get it to understand. And like I said, with the Bing image creator, you're limited. You only have so much you can actually type out. So I have to get creative. And what I like about it versus ChatGPT is it's faster, but it has a different style too. And it kind of will do better at giving me stuff that gives me more liberty to then take that and just run with it rather than giving me the exact what I want.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sparks ideas where I can create new things. And maybe I was going to go one direction, but then I'm like, oh wait, let's do that.
It gives you other options too you may have not even thought about.
And even though there's sometimes that it'll give me a new idea and I don't want to use what it gave me, but it made me think of something else.
Yes.
So it's a really good tool to use because at the end of the day, you still have to figure out all the wording, how you want it done, how you want it to look. You're taking your idea, getting it to give you a visual, and then taking that visual and creating something different from it that you use that as a reference, but it is your original art piece.
Well, sitting here talking about it, it makes me feel like, if you're in a team setting and one person has an idea, well, that one person has to tell the whole team the idea before it can come a reality.
Right.
Well, once that one person tells the team the start of it, each team member is going to add to it, and it's not going to make it less. It makes it even better than where it originally started. Mm-hmm. So, people are selfish, and they're like, it's mine, 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 mine. Well, we do well together too because it's not yours, mine. You did better than me. I know you can draw better than me. I mean, Jesus.
Well, I've been doing it my whole life.
But still, but the thing is this isn't a a race of who does what better.
It's a team effort.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I mean, even with ChatGPT, Bing, I mean, AI, all of it. Yes, I know the faults in it. I understand that. But it's also kind of like a team member.
Yeah.
If you use it to
Use
your
it in a-
advantage.
yeah. Use
Don't
it to-
misuse it.
Right. Bolster
Yes.
yourself, not replace and try to pass it off as what you did that. So, it's one of those, even like our logo, we used it to help us kind of design it and tweak it and things like that. But then I took it in my digital art software and got to work, so it inspired like, okay, how do we create a logo that's not overly much or too busy, but still looks like, a couple
Us.
of bookish fantasy nerds that are into creativity.
Yes.
And, I think it gave us what we needed. And then from there, we took it and I spent a couple of weeks tweaking that thing in, my, Autodesk Sketchbook, which from there, I took it to Krita and I'm trying to learn that one. Really good software, by the way, if you're trying to get into the digital scene and don't want to pay for anything. I didn't know about it until a while ago, but still got a lot to learn, but it's really cool.
Well, Nomad for me, I think it was $20 that I downloaded, but you do it on your phone or your tablet. And I'll set when the kids are watching TV or when Josh is cooking supper or something like that. And I'll set and just tweak and move and like I'm learning it.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect and I'm I still got a ways to go to learn.
It's a lot though. I mean,
Yes.
Whereas I'm learning 2-dimensional to kind of give it a little bit of 3-dimension with, distance and things, you are actually working in a 3-dimensional creative space.
Yes.
And that is,
I enjoy it, but I have to step away.
yeah, I mean, I did try Nomad that one time and I was like, oh, this is neat. It's like clay. And I've done, like clay stuff before and
It does not work the same.
Well, in a way it does, except for the fact that you're like, oh yeah, that looks good. And you got to turn it and you're like, oh my God. You forget about the other side. So
You be having booty in the trunk.
yes, where it shouldn't be. And so it's
Where
a
it should
lot.
have been an eyeball.
Anyway.
You know.
But I think it is a learning process. But I
Yes.
think it gives you a jump start when you use, like, once I send you a picture of like we did with Onyx after I just did the line art before I started adding all of the actual color for the rest of the video, I sent you the line art, you took it into ChatGPT and said, okay, I need a just basic, turn this into a 3D object. And from there, and it didn't do that great.
No, but it did actually give me like
The general
dimensions and stuff to
Yeah.
where when I went into Nomad and stuff, the scales and stuff of how to make it look dimensionally correct. I had to think about that for a minute. You see that process?
big words.
Woo! Low! So, but I mean, it helps also like tell you kind of what, like size wise too.
Yeah.
It helps narrow it down because me and Google, we've been Googling centimeters to millimeters, inches to centimeters to millimeters, and all these things that, you thought you don't use when you're in school that you're like, why am I ever going to use that? Well, I've never used it up until now. And now I'm like, man, maybe I should have listened to
Our
Miss Davis
dang
a little bit better.
imperial system. Like at one point, someday, we just need to do the future generations a favor and just teach them
Shoot, teach them how to count. Change when you give them a 20.
well the other
And a 1.
I can't think of the name of it right now, and I'm going to sound like an idiot. But the other system where it's your the metric system. Jeez.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I had to think a second. Math. I'm an artist, but because it makes more sense. It's by tens, whereas like the imperial is like, 5K is 3.1 miles, or like a mile, like meters to the feet, and like why did we just decide 12? Let's stop right there. instead of 10. Like, it's so much easier. But
I know.
So anyways, that kind of stuff, we are having to pull that back out of the drawer from a long time. And like, because a lot of this stuff actually is in the metric system.
Yes.
Which is better when you get used to it. But,
I'm a mom now. I shouldn't have to learn this stuff over.
Well, you're going to get there to the point you are going to have to when they get old enough.
But point being is that, okay, people talk about ChatGPT and AI and how it's taken place or whatever. But you know what? Has anybody ever thought about questioning people that Google how to spell a word?
Listen, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just 0.2 seconds. Let's talk about the one side of AI that drives me nuts. And we had this happen a lot when we were still at the office in the corporate world. And I think using it the way we have done, like as a, again, tool in your toolbox, not a replacement for your brain. Don't dumb yourself down. Don't ask ChatGPT how to say something.
Or to write you an
so
email.
So many people use it to write an email, and not even hard emails. And if you're watching, stop doing it.
So see, we do have our cons that we don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Or that we.
Well, to me, that is.
That's taking a person.
Well, you're dumbing down society when you allow computers to do everything for you. If you can't write a simple email and sound professional, and you are working in an office, maybe you should reevaluate.
Again, if you got
not judging, just a statement of fact. But,
how can you judge AI or ChatGPT when you literally have people that Google almost every single word
right
to write a sentence to?
And not talking down on people and stuff like that. But at the same time, this was people that were doing this are intelligent people that we worked with that could do that. But don't be lazy.
Yes.
That's one of my sides of AI that I think is a problem, is people get so reliant on it for that kind of, instead of using it as a tool for if you really need to figure something out, we're using it to write a freaking email. And come on. I mean, and I know I went on this rant several times when somebody just use GPT to make your email. I would stand up from my cubicle and say, I don't need freaking ChatGPT to write my email. I can write one of the best emails you've ever heard. I've even had people tell me that was the best email they've ever read. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Which I'm also a book nerd. I feel like words done correctly, you have to learn how to word things. And I know this is a controversial topic, probably getting a little too opinionated here, but my point is you can use it to your advantage without using it to replace your brain.
Right.
Or the things that you actually do. Because at that point, is it really you that did it? You let the computer, and you're also trusting a computer. And my husband has said this several times before. He can spot a ChatGPT email a mile away. And he has said before, I can do a simpler answer, or question back to somebody, better written and to the point than somebody who sends me a paragraph that I know ChatGPT wrote.
Right.
So that is one of the bad sides of it. And again, not judging you if you do that.
No.
But at the same time, this is my opinion of it. I've seen it make people lazy. And
you can't criticize one without the other.
Right. So there's positives and there's negatives to both. I like to use it as a tool for my ideas.
Oh, I like to use it sometimes to create things with starfish.
We ain't gonna talk about that. Content warning. No.
Carry on.
Anyways, so all that you have thrown me off. You have thrown me off. So, anyways, we just wanted to kind of talk about how we use it as a tool because, like we've said from the very beginning, we're open and honest and real about what we do. And I want this to be useful to people who are just like us.
Yeah.
Who are not looking for something overly produced and, telling you what you want to hear or, just trying to ride the trends of anything like that. We are just being open and honest about what we actually enjoy, what we think about it, how we do things, our processes, what we actually use. that could maybe be beneficial for somebody else who's doing something similar or just enjoys our content, and whether it's starfish or whatever. But
well, and like, I mean, you know, there are people out there that allow the society to tell them what they can and can't use, or they let them influence this or that.
think for yourself.
I don't give a poo.
She really doesn't. Well, and that's the thing too, is like,
I'm going to be me and I'm going to enjoy what we're doing. And I like seeing what AI or ChatGPT may come up with when
and
we
then
get
you
it.
take it from there and run with it. Not always in the right direction.
but we always get a laugh.
Yeah, we do. She has come up with several things. It's like, what if I did this? I'm like, don't. We want to bring good creativity into the world, not stuff that makes you question whether AI should really exist. There's enough of that.
but you know,
it is. But all that being said, we could go on about our different opinions and things, but in the reality of it, everybody has their own take on AI, and it doesn't mean that you're right or wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're right or wrong, but we just wanted to explain how we use it.
I'm probably right.
But it can be a positive thing.
Yes,
It's got a lot of negatives. But like any technology that comes out, even just like, you know, computers and things.
Siri.
Video games. How controversial, you know, that they've been through the years, and, you know, how when they first came out, so many people thought that they were just the devil, and, you know, they were influencing kids to do bad things and stuff like that. I'm not a psychologist. I can't say one way or the other. But as a lifelong gamer who has had a controller in my hand since I was about 6 years old, I've played a lot of games that haven't influenced me to do bad things.
I was about to say.
But
that's people are people, though.
I think that gets into more of the psychology aspect of things and people's tendencies per person. But regardless of that, my whole point is everything new is controversial. So I'm not here to argue one way or the other. I'm just here to say
We use it.
this is how we use it.
We use it in a positive way to help us create the things that are stuck in these noggins up here.
Yeah.
Because I may lay awake all night long, and when I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, I'm texting Jessica, hey, blah, 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 blah. and by, 8 o'clock, she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, look at it as a positive thing. If you have issues like we do with getting what you're picturing on a piece of paper, use the tools that you have available to you.
Because it could help.
Yes.
If you have ideas that you want to get out there, and if there's something that you want to draw it, and you just can't quite get it down without a physical photo to look at, it could be something that's useful. But you have to come up with the idea and the information to type it in there correctly to get what you want. And like I said, my Bing creator thing, if you went back through the history of it, I bet you there's 50 to 60 different reiterations of me like, no, that ain't right. Redo until I get it to do what I want it to do.
Well, it takes work. It doesn't just give you what you want right then.
Yeah.
So yes, it may help enhance and everything else, but it is still work that you're having to get out of your head in there to even tell it where even to begin.
Right. So but it can be a positive thing. It can be a negative thing. But this is how we use it. And I think as an artist, it has helped me immensely with getting my ideas out and creating some of the best works I've ever done. So,
well, it's helped me a lot too, being the fact that I can't draw stuff.
Yeah.
I have so many ideas that I literally want to bring to life, but I don't have the means to do it when I can't draw it. So it brings it to life, and it is so satisfying to see something just close to what you're picturing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exact.
Well,
but
and then
just
you can take it
to
from there.
Yes.
And take that spark to create what you wanted to create from the beginning, but couldn't quite get that full visual without seeing it first.
So, but keep in mind, y'all, no judgment here. Let's be nice. No ugly. God don't
Everybody's
like ugly.
got their opinions. It's you could argue all day long. There's always going to be somebody on the other side of the fence. But
This is just our spin of how we use it, how we see it.
how we've had experiences with it, good
Exactly.
and bad.
Yes.
So, but let us know if you use it for, your advantage with your artwork or creativity or anything. We'd love to hear how the positives you've had.
Yes.
We already know a lot of the negatives, so don't yell at us too much.
It's not negatives when you laugh at it. I don't think it's negative. I think it's funny.
Oh, well, but this is how we use our AI to our advantage. And yeah, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed this episode.
Come back and see us and all the funnies. Starfishes and all.
Bye.